What's your thoughts on government cover-ups or covert societies attempting to control humanity? Do you believe in ancient astronauts, intergalactic communication, or extraterrestrial visitations? Ever had an experience with disembodied spirits or the paranormal universe? Are these subjects fact or fiction? Each week, Tony and Eddie explore these unbelievable realities and beyond. Exclusively on Truth Be Told.
Hello and welcome to Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie, where we believe in experience becomes truth. I'm your host, Tony Sweet, and joining me now in studio is world-renowned psychic Eddie Connor.
Thank you, Tony, and hi, everybody. Today we're talking to famed healer and channeler Nora Herold. Nora has the ability to channel a multitude of high vibrational beings, including the Pleiadian collective, Yeshua, Inara, the Lemurians, the Fairies, and the Angelics.
Norah will be talking about the galactic history, such as the Orion Wars, Lemuria, Atlantis, and how these events and civilizations relate to and interact with our current timeline.
That's going to be a lot of fun to find out about, so please welcome to Truth Be Told, famed healer and channeler Nora Herold.
All right, Norah in the house. Hi, Norah.
Hi, how you doing, guys?
Oh, this is going to be fun. All right, well, I'm Tony Sweet, and we have...
Eddie Connor, how are you doing?
I'm good, how you doing?
And we have...
John Williams. Hello.
And, okay, John, you might as well say at least something over there. The other John.
The other John.
The other white
John.
meat. The other white meat.
The other John.
All right, the other white meat. So, Norah, thank you so much for driving down from Ojai, and this is going to be fun. Eddie and I haven't had a channel on for a long time.
Right, for a long time.
It's been a while. So, first of all, I want to know what a channel is.
Sure.
Because we know psychic and medium and all this, but what is a channel?
So, channeling really is just putting energy into form. So we all channel. We all do it in many different ways. We all do it in many different ways. Artists channel, actors channel, painters channel, composers channel. Mm-hmm. The kind of channeling that I do is I connect with beings who exist in a higher dimension, and I allow them to move through my body and speak directly through me. So what I do is called direct voice channeling.
Is that something that they had to have your permission first? Or
Yes.
did they just...
They had to have my permission first.
And
yes.
Will you explain that to everyday people who sometimes think this world is sort of like nuts and scary and crazy?
Yes.
Why they must have your permission first, why that is so important.
First, because we live in a universe of free will, and there are no victims in this reality. We're all creator beings. Mm-hmm. So every single one of us, in every moment, are creating our experience, whether we're giving permission from a conscious place, a subconscious place, or an unconscious place.
So conscious, subconscious, unconscious.
Yes.
Oh, girl.
Getting real in here.
I know. You got your work cut out for you today.
What would unconscious be, Nora?
So unconscious to me...
Just cut to a picture.
Hey, what are you looking at me for?
I like to see our unconscious agreements. Those are the agreements we made before incarnating.
Got it.
Okay. So before I incarnated, clearly the Pleiadians and
like,
Yeshua and the Fairies. And
they're like, girl, come over here. Let's talk.
Can you please be our big mouth on planet Earth? And I said, I would love to.
You're like, sure, I had nothing
that
else to
sounds
do.
fun. Right. I'm tired of hanging out with the Pleiadians, not in physical form. I'll come and be a physical Pleiadian.
And so how, as a channeler, what are your other intuitive strengths? Meaning, are you more clairvoyant, clairaudient, a knower? What are your strengths?
Yeah, I'm clairaudient, clairsentient, and claircognizant. Those are my strengths. So I hear, I feel very deeply emotionally. I know. And over the last few years, I have found my clairvoyant, my seeing abilities really increasing dramatically since the end of 2012.
What's the deal with your dreams?
Well, I tend to have a lot of past life information come in my dream state. I'll often dream it couched in this reality.
Yeah.
So like if I'm working through something in my life, okay, and I'm trying to figure out the source or the cause of why I might create the same conflict or pattern or program again and again and again, right? So this again, I think, goes to those unconscious creation experiences. So that's past life, unresolved past life trauma being activated and triggered, coming up. So in my dream state, maybe I'll have a dream where, you know, John and I are having an argument that makes no sense in our current reality. Like we're fighting about, I don't know, let's say a cruise ship. Okay, like that makes no sense. Why would we be fighting about a cruise ship, right? And then sitting on the beach a few days later, I have conscious memory of our lifetime together on Lemuria when John was a full-fledged Lyran being and I was a Lyran-Lemurian hybrid, and I watched him get on that ship and leave the planet.
Wow. John?
I had places to be.
He had to go. What's very interesting is at that time, that was the summer of 2011. At that time, John and I were considering separating. We'd been together at that point for 12 years, and we were going through a lot of turmoil in our relationship. And as soon as I started and we started to access the past life data,
The patterns.
yes, that was sitting underneath, and the story, well, suddenly we realized, oh, we're not going to get away from each other now. We're working through past life trauma, but the only way we can work through that trauma is to feel it now.
Yeah, to experience it and go through it and evolve from it. It's like Cloud Atlas, the sequel.
Yeah.
So, Nora, we've heard Eddie before tell us about his journey on evolving as a psychic.
Yeah.
Were you a child psychic, or was it like not a past life? What is a near-death experience, or what opened that realm?
I was really intuitive as a kid, but would never have defined myself as psychic.
Yeah.
You know, I was just very curious and intuitive. And I was having a tarot reading when I was in my early 20s, and a woman said, who was reading me, you should really read tarot cards as a part of my reading. And I said, okay, that sounds fun. And I've been looking to expand my intuition. I was acting at the time. Like, I thought I was here in this lifetime to be an actress.
And to be in front of lots of people and share your gift.
Yeah.
Hey there.
Right.
Now you're in front of lots
Yes.
of people sharing your gift.
Exactly. And all of my theater training absolutely helps me
Yes.
in my work. You know, it's very easy to just jump into a scenario like this and be with you all and be present because of that. So I started reading tarot and immediately felt a really strong affinity for the process, felt a lot of very accurate information just coming out of me. You know, and that was the interesting part for me, is these things would come out of me and I would know that I was accessing something beyond the pictures and the cards and the definitions, but I didn't really have a framework for it. And then during my first Saturn return, so y'all familiar with Saturn return?
I just know it's fugly.
I'm not. So
It'll beat you to death.
Yes, especially especially the first one. So we're all born with the planet Saturn somewhere in our chart. Saturn is the planet of intense personal transformation and rebirth.
Whether you like it or
So
not.
Exactly.
From my birth until 46. Okay, I understand.
Yes. Saturn revisits us once every 28 years. So around the age of 27, 28, 29, because it's not an exact science,
Right.
you go through your first Saturn return. Wow. So I went through, and it's like having your entire life flipped upside down, right?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of my second one right now.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah. Woohoo!
Congrats.
Yeah.
It's not as bad this time around as it was the first time. I'll say.
And I think that's true for John. John is a Reiki master. John also channels. John has spent the majority of his adult life exploring and healing and clearing and
Shoveling.
understanding himself. So I think because of that, his second Saturn return is not that disruptive. But they can be these amazing disruptors to us. So I'm going through my first Saturn return, breakup, implosion, career in the freaking toilet, thinking I'm going to be a waitress the rest of my life. Like, right?
A waitress, actress.
No, at that point
Oh,
I'd
it's a
given up.
waitress.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's it. I was like
She's
literally
like,
nope, too hard. And I was sitting with a friend one night, and we were doing reading each other's cards. And she said, I met this woman, Wendy Kennedy, who channels. And I said, well, okay, what is that? Talking to dead people? And she said, well, yeah, you could do that. But she talks to her spirit guide. And as soon as she said that to me, I just knew, right?
Clicked.
That's it. That is the thing. So that night, within a matter of minutes, I established conscious contact.
Okay,
Because
instead of
Yes.
trance-channeled contact.
Exactly. And also, it wasn't new. This is a being who had been with me for the entirety of my incarnation.
Wow.
I just wasn't aware of his existence. We all have these beautiful beings of light that are with us, guiding and loving and helping, and are completely here to assist us, especially as our consciousness expands and we begin to have direct contact with them. So I felt this amazing love from this being, like true unconditional love, like life-altering near-death experience like it was. So even though I didn't have a classic near-death experience, that was
It's like a
synonymous
transition.
with, yes, because
Wow.
very quickly after, immediately I started running energy through my body and was clearing
How
people's
did you take that,
headaches
though? How
and
did you-
stomach aches.
How did you take that in? I mean, because I had to be. You can't just like, oh, I feel good, and that. I mean, it had to be kind of a transformation of not feeling, getting that
Unfamiliar.
the unfamiliar
Because
feeling.
I think humans are like Ford Pintos. And then when we start channeling the energy through, somehow it's Bentley energy or it's Ferrari energy and we blow little fuses. Or I did. I
It
grew up in a trailer
was,
park.
yes, completely crazy making
Yeah.
at times. Absolutely. There
course.
was one night when I walked into the restaurant's bathroom to have a cigarette. That was one of the things I used back then to kind of
Breathe.
disconnect and breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't use that any longer. I was able to clear that need and that addiction. But I went in, I had a cigarette, and I had this really intense conversation with my guide, Mirando, right? And then I walked out. I couldn't run a credit card. I couldn't ring anything up on the register. I had altered my electromagnetic field.
no.
I sat on the floor of the kitchen, and my manager just said, go home. I left. I went. I'm like, I need some juice and some food to ground, right? Because I was all over the place. I parked. As I left the little 7-Eleven, I tore the bumper off the front of my car. I mean, I was so ungrounded. So yeah, it took some time for me to acclimate myself and my personal vibration to theirs. And that's continual work for me. If I don't do my work, my gets kicked.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love about the work, though.
Yeah.
Because when we don't do it, we do get ungrounded, we do get imbalanced, and then we do get our ass kicked, as it were. Like ASS is an acronym for accidental self-sabotage by default. So you conscious channel a lot of different civilizations and beings from different civilizations, right? And so Atlantis, Lemuria, the Pleiades. Now I love fairies, not just these two, but I've
don't know who
always
you
been
point
I've been a lover of fairies my whole life. So, what is your go-to dimension of consciousness to channel, and who seems to be your favorite group that you achieve harmony with?
So currently,
Yeah.
that's 12th dimensional Pleiadians.
Well, that's okay, girl. I was thinking 6 or 8, but that's okay. 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're
Pleiadians.
Yeah,
Okay.
Pleiadians. So they are no longer clearly, obviously, this collective of beings in physical form in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
They are here to facilitate humanity's shift in consciousness, here to help us resolve bigger traumas and conflicts that go back to Atlantis, Lemuria, the destruction of the first Earth,
Yeah.
and the Orion Wars. So those, and the Living Library and the destruction of Earth's, this planet's original intention. So when I talk about connecting with Atlantis, so Atlantis, the being I'm channeling from Atlantis really is myself. I have full
I was gonna
access to
ask.
the memories of that lifetime and who I was and what I did there. And I encounter often people in this life that I knew there. So that's,
Do you really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
How do you instantly know?
Yeah.
It's a knowing, just like you have gaydar.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's twice now. Why are you doing that, Tim?
Oh, no! I'm helping. I want him to understand. It's literally like having gaydar. It's like when you're out and about and you're like, It's an inner knowing.
Yeah.
That's right. That's true.
It's true.
It is.
But okay, I'm just asking the everyday person. I'm like,
Please.
why would the Pleiadians care? Why do they care about us so much to even want
Yeah,
to?
because they're not the Rockefellers or the Koch brothers.
Right. You know, and I'm just like, why would they want to?
Greetings. This is
Yeah.
the Pleiadian Collective. It is wonderful to have the opportunity to connect with you beautiful universal beings of love and light here and those of you tuning in. And that is the truth of your identity. You are all love and light, and you are love incarnate. Doesn't matter what you look like, what you're doing, what you say, what you think, how you feel. You are love. Love is what creates and comprises this universe. All right, so why do we care? Well, yes, we're invested. You're right. That's the question you're really asking. So we're here interacting with all of you because initially we helped to create the Discord. So we cannot move on, meaning those of us in the Pleiades who are sitting in the lower dimensions, all right? So we're a 12th dimensional collective. So we operate with the Pleiadians like your spirit guides operate with all of you, right? So we're guiding energy. We just call ourselves Pleiadian because that triggers something very specific in your... Yes, Nora's right here. I'm right here. So I'm demonstrating for all of you right now how I work.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons and they'll come back, they wanted me to do this. One of the reasons why I work this way is because I'm also aware of my own genetics that are Pleiadian in origin. Right. So there's not much of a differentiation any longer between Norah, the human, and our energy as she's become more aware of her Pleiadian origins. And that is the point of Earth itself. Earth is a catalog of all life in the universe. Earth's original intention was to be a living library of universal information, right? So if a Pleiadian being wanted to know about a being from Arcturus and from the Sirian star system and the Lyran star system and the Faeries, they could just go to Earth. You could come here and experience, interact with all of this beautiful energy.
Which is what Shirley MacLaine first talked about it literally in the 80s or the 90s, that Atlantis and aspects of Earth was an intergalactic exchange program for the whole universe.
Exactly. Yes, that's right.
So I'm curious about the discord that you spoke about, how the Pleiadians initially created the discord and now they're wanting to, I'll paraphrase, and clean it up.
Yes. So the library was created via the donation of genetic information and material by all of these beings all over the universe. Some of the names you know, some you don't yet know. You haven't remembered yet, right? But you know Cassiopeia, you know Arcturus, you know the Sirens, you know on and on. All the names, the Lyrans, the Vegans, the beings from Venus, etc. Okay, they all came here. And we all had an agreement that we were going to share this world. Now, when we talk about Pleiadians, it's not like talking about Earthlings. All right, the Pleiadian star system is massive with many, many different planetary bodies.
Oh, I love learning new things.
There were a group of beings, third-dimensional Pleiadian beings, who had achieved time travel technology, and they decided, they wanted to be king of the hill. That's the way we're describing it right now. So they came here with their geneticists. They took apart the original humanoid structure on planet Earth. So originally, you had 12 strands of DNA. You were very different from who you are now. You were full creative beings. You didn't have to procreate to have children. The Garden of Eden in the Bible kind of tries to describe in a really sanitized way.
And we didn't grow old. We didn't have to get sick to die.
Exactly. That's right. And these beings came to Earth, and they were reptilian in form, took apart, meaning destroyed all of humanity, and recreated a slave race.
Are they still here?
Of course.
Are they in the White House? I'm joking, teasing.
Well,
Are you talking about the Anunnaki? Is that what you're saying, Nora?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Anunnaki, Illuminati, yes,
Yes.
absolutely. This intersects with all of your stories. That's right. Yes. You know, in conspiracy theories and those ideas are of great service to humanity because it gets you all outside of the programming that tells you there's only one truth, right? But what we also see, and it's important for your listeners to know this, is you can get stuck in a victim place with the conspiracy theories.
Very true.
Yes.
Very true.
And it's important to remember at the end of the day, you're all creators. So if you're here on a planet that's operating as a slave race, you chose it.
And yeah. And so coming from non-physical perspective, there's no such thing as victimization.
Exactly.
You choose it on a higher level.
Yes.
And you also choose to get out of it too if you want to.
And we need to say this. At the end of 2012, your enslavement contracts with the Anunnaki were null and void. That was it. You ran the length of your contract. You are sovereign now on planet Earth. You have free will. Yeah.
This is fascinating to me for this reason. You know how we talk about when we're doing classes and workshops, it takes, when I change something in my family as a conscious person, it heals 5 generations back. And it's so hard to change old patterns on Earth, meaning we're taught that. And so now that since 2012, we're a free race, as it were, it's centuries and millenniums of feeling stuck. And it takes a minute to unbreak that.
Yes.
And that's what the Pleiadians are helping to create.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Going back to that moment when the living library was destroyed and changing that original moment. And when that moment is changed, the entirety of your physical reality will shift. Now, we don't know when this will happen. We don't know that you'll achieve it in this lifetime. There are a lot of other things that are coming into play. You're also integrating your 5th dimensional identities currently into your 3rd dimensional bodies.
Hercules.
Yes, which is why you're able to move at an accelerated rate now in the way that you are. It's incredibly exciting to be a part of it. So this is the other answer to the question. It's incredibly exciting for us to be here with you all, able to give you this timeline, this version of your history. And we say it that way because there are many versions of history, right?
Yes.
So you can't find one. Those of you trying to find the real truth, we would say let that go. Take what resonates for you in the moment and leave the rest behind.
Which is where the power is.
Yes, including what we give you.
So in 2012, we were all taught that the veil also dropped between worlds from the 4th dimension to the 5th dimension, correct? So we have more access to non-physical and great moments like this, and this is the norm.
Yes.
This isn't uniquely different and odd. This is the norm.
Yes. The other thing that occurred is when the Pleiadians came and altered the living library, they created exclusive contracts with just a few other races, saying you can have access to the beings on Earth, but nobody else can.
For what purpose?
Oh, natural resources, enslavement of thought and ideas, all the things you lovely beings have talked about on your program, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of 2012, that also fell away.
Ooh,
So
we're
it's one
trimming
of the
fat.
reasons why there have been an exponential number of sightings of craft in your skies, because suddenly Earth is open for business. Now, it's not like there was a big memo sent out across the galaxy, all right, saying you can go visit Earth now, it's open. So there's a kind of a slow evolutionary discovery of this planet that many beings in this universe did not know existed. That's the first time that's the first time they've ever said that. That's fascinating to me. But that makes so much sense as to why we all feel contact is something that's so much more probable now. Well, that totally makes sense, right? Because beings who didn't even know we were here suddenly are becoming aware of our existence and will want to interact with us.
So Earth is a consciousness. It's a living, breathing being.
Yes.
And so it has its own free will as well.
Yes,
Is that right?
Yes, that's right. And we would say Earth is comprised. This is the Pleiadians again. Earth is comprised of a collective of beings.
Love it.
So it's not an individual being, and Earth itself is integrating that collective beings, that group. They are integrating their fifth dimensional identities as you are integrating yours. So you are shifting in tandem.
Wow.
This has never been done before in the history of the universe, and this will have universal ramifications in changing the dynamics of polarity and duality.
But does that also open us up for this universe, this world? The contract is null and void for any types of risk other than, or are we still just finding our way and hopefully?
Of course it opens you up to risk, yeah. Like any free moment does.
Yeah.
And
But we have a lot of help. I mean, it's. I mean, we've seen
If
a
we
number of
reach for it.
examples.
Because what you're saying
Well, no,
about
even without. I mean, in times of what appears to be crises from our 3D perspective, there's literally legions. I mean, I'm not saying like it's automatic,
right.
but
Yeah, I so know that and feel that and believed it, knew it, and felt it before I even knew to believe it.
Right.
Because I know you
Yeah,
said
you can
something
feel it.
about
You can.
other
It's
civilizations out there that really may have not known about us, that it's opened that where they may not be so friendly to us.
so did that strike some fear
No, it
in
didn't
you?
really strike fear, but it
Perhaps
just
in
popped in
your
my head.
listeners, though.
Yes.
Perhaps in your listeners. We
Right.
feel like you're their voice
Sure, there's
right
a lot
now.
of memory
Yeah,
there.
it
So-
just popped into my head,
well-
so I thought there must be somebody out there that thought the same thing.
Yes, we want to address that, and it does trigger a fear, primarily because of the numbers of you on your world that have had contact with the Zeta Reticula, or the beings you refer to as the Greys. And those experiences, those classic abduction experiences, felt extremely traumatic. So for some of you, we say felt because you're not a victim. Yes, there was agreement. And yes, it still sucked, right? Both are true. See, this is what you all have to do. You all have to say, I am making this. I am creating this. And I feel hurt, or I feel anger, or I feel joy in the moment. You've got to tie the two together. So when we said that, it triggered some abduction fear in all of you. So let us give you this. The Zeta Reticula, because of the hybridization program that they created here on planet Earth,
For a long time.
yes, are no longer disconnected from their emotional bodies. They are now activated in empathy and compassion because of their interactions with the humans and what occurred at the end of 2012.
Is this the Greys or the Grey hybrid or both?
Both.
Okay.
The Grey hybrids were always going to carry with them some emotional knowledge because, yes, they're part
So
earthling as well.
How does that play out in real time? Is it like happening today, or is it going to take some time for all this to integrate? What are you getting?
So for the Greys themselves to fully actualize, that is still a process underway. One of the things we should tell you about the Zeta Reticula, and we prefer to use that term not graze so much.
Because it's got a higher frequency and it's less, it just feels better.
Yeah, and it's like a racial slur.
Yeah. Oh, that's, well,
Exactly.
truth be told.
So the Zeta Reticula are the descendants of the Lyrans and the Lyran-Lemurian hybrids that were created so long ago in this universe. The other beings who are the descendants of the Lyrans, so the brothers and sisters to the Zeta Reticula, are the fairies. So you look at the polarization of energy there.
Yeah.
Right. And that energy is coming back together.
And if it help me understand it, so in essence, Earth and the people of Earth are sort of going through a big ass Saturn return.
That's such an
Well,
awesome,
and even the term Saturn return there has
awesome.
like multiple layers
Yeah,
of
because
meaning.
so it's emotional, it's physical, it's
Energetic.
psychically,
Yes.
and so I would think you could be walking along just buying your Starbucks venti iced caramel latte, soy, whatever, upside down, add foam, old school. Thank you so much, and then have a flashback, or have a download, or think of something I meant to tell Tony I couldn't think of for. And so we want to become. Heaven is just another word for expanded consciousness.
Yes.
So we want to let that heaven, that non-physical part of us through and be aware of it and act on it in a way that feels right to our unique beingness.
Yes.
And
Yes.
is heaven the absence of duality?
We actually, yes, you experience absence of duality there because heaven, when you're there,
Yeah.
you know it fully to be a simulation. You see, one of the differences is here, you don't believe you're in a simulation. You believe it's real, right? Even though it isn't,
Right.
because it's all created.
It's an amazing
Right?
hologram. It's so well constructed.
Yes, but the seventh dimension, you have complete consciousness that you are no longer in a quote-unquote real dense reality. So it's this way station where you can simulate anything without any trauma, without any injury. There's something else, too, about that. This is Nora here. I'm just going into new information here about the seventh dimension. We want you to look at the ideas of both heaven and hell and see them both as existing on the seventh dimension.
Okay.
And hell?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Judge can't have one without the other.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this universe is, there's a polarity here. This is a universe of duality. Now, that's also changing. You are working your way into oneness. Again, we don't know when that will be. We don't know if you all will experience it in your lifetimes or...
Thursday.
Nora, you use that term a lot, oneness. Can you just give a little more about what is that? What will that feel like?
That's
what,
a great question.
Oneness is a full, energetic, emotional, mental knowing. It's the only way you can have it in the physical reality because we cannot include the physical in it right now while you're in density, all right? So we're explaining oneness right now while in the third dimension. It is a complete syncing up with energetically, emotionally, mentally, the other humans you're with, and all of collective consciousness in the way it's expressing itself before you, meaning not just the humans, the table, the building, the trees, the grass. You can feel it if you just breathe right now into it. How you're just energy, all of you, pretending to separate out into, right?
Yeah. It's like we're just a grain of sand physically, but the rest of that which we are is the universe.
Yes.
Simultaneously. And as the little grain of sand learns to get into expanded consciousness, into the oneness that you so beautifully articulated, then we're in the flow. We're living the heaven on earth experience simultaneously while being able to download a 12th dimensional Pleiadian entity.
Yes.
That's amazing. Amazing. Now I want to go back to the fairies. because they're my people.
Back to the fairies.
Hold on. Kaliandra's knocking on my door. I'll tell you this. This is very interesting. So I used to channel Kaliandra, and she's my fifth dimensional go-to fairy with tremendous ease a number of years ago. And I found that after the winter solstice of 2012, as we ascended our vibratory rate, channeling Kaliandra has become a little bit more difficult. Because we are closer in vibration. So it would be like me trying to channel you, Tony.
Right.
Now, she still sits a half step above, so I can still do it. And she's here. I mean, she's of course, been here the whole time. She's always here. She's trying to come up with something special for you. Eddie, Kaliandra! I am Kaliandra.
Hi.
Well, Eddie, we know each other.
Oh.
We've hung out together. Eddie, you need to invite us into your home.
Okay.
Extend a formal invitation. All of you, we recommend all of you listening. Extend a formal invitation to the fairies. We will, after an adjustment period, lighten your load.
Oh, thank you.
But there will be an adjustment period. We will come in and we will push the buttons that need to be pushed to help you clean some things up, take care of some unfinished business, and we might do that by moving your keys, making you run around for a little bit, looking for your keys, getting in touch with all the emotions that come up because you cannot find the keys you just put right there, and then once you have, the keys will be there. Things like that. But we recommend you all extend a formal invitation to us. We're not tiny little beings. That is not who we are. We can be that. And frankly, we do project our energy that way at times so as not to frighten you all. Okay, this is Nora here. So I'm sitting in my living room one night watching TV, and I see so this is my clairvoyant side, I see a huge rip over my dining room table in the air of shimmering light. And Kaliandra, who I had been working with for years, steps into our home. And she is 10 feet tall, glowing with light, and scared the crap out of me. Like, really, I was paralyzed.
Yeah.
This being who I love dearly, and I know loves me dearly as well, and would never, ever cause me harm. Kaliandra here. So the vibrational differentiation, if we are to appear to all of you in full force, can be traumatizing. So it's one of the reasons why you all see us as these tiny little beings, because that's how we come, so as not to scare you. Now, the other reason is because we've been portrayed that way by the powers that don't want all of you to know the truth of yourselves as fairies and your gigantic power, right? So it's twofold. The enslavers say, fairies, you be small, and we say, we will, to play the game of enslavement because we were on Earth playing with all of you. And then we don't want to scare you.
Wow. So what's the deal with the trees? Meaning, I love a tree. I love all trees. I talk to trees whenever I walk in the morning, and when nobody can watch me or see me, I will go and hug my trees.
Well, this is Norah here.
Yeah,
That's Druid lifetime for you.
Okay. And we all have it.
Yes.
Whether we follow it or not, right?
Yes. For you specifically, though, you have real ties to a couple of really, like, Mists of Avalon. Have you read the Mists of Avalon?
I have picked it up about 20 times and put it right back down. I read 3 pages and put it down.
Yeah. Well, it's time. Maybe it's time for you to dive in a little more and unearth that, obviously, trauma that's sitting there for you. You know, so when Christianity swept through our planet as an enslaving force, right?
Say that one more time, please.
Christianity as an enslaving force swept through our world, and the pagans were persecuted,
Yeah.
and right, And the Druids, in large part, were murdered, tortured, raped.
And so were the intuitives and the
Yes.
herbologists and
Yes.
the naturalists.
Yep.
That's so sad.
Yeah. One of the first past life memories I had after I'd started to catalog my lifetimes, John was doing a Reiki session. My John. John Wilk was doing a Reiki session on me, and we were pretty new together in our relationship. And he was working on my throat chakra, and I was just feeling all this stuff, and I had suddenly just this flash of myself with long red hair being dragged naked by my hair through the streets of Scotland. And then in a cell, all my teeth had been knocked out, just kept and tortured until finally killed. And it was the herbalist in the town, and someone new ascended to power, and I had all his secrets, and that he wasn't okay with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can I just and as an addendum to that story, when I was training to be a Reiki master, Reiki teacher, my teacher, who had studied with multiple Reiki people, told almost the same story Nora did about being in Scotland in the 3rd century. She knew her name, she knew what town it was, and she remembers vividly like the Christian armies or whatever, invading, and she was a fighter, she was a warrior, and female. So it just was like, wow, it was like, oh my God, like, my teacher had this, and then I, the person that I'm with now, like, was there too. It's like, oh my God.
And it's fascinating how it works, meaning how we all end up meeting back up. I
Yeah,
know
we
you're trying
do.
to ask a question.
No.
I
Well,
thought you were.
I do have a question. Do you see that more the veil has dropped, and where organized religion is slowly, not even maybe slowly, quickly
As
pushed
the
out?
male energy for 2,000 years is dominated,
Right.
and the feminine energy is coming in for the next 2,000 years on top of that.
Yeah.
Yes, and we also see a destructuring of all of your systems.
Oh,
Political,
Well,
religious,
you see that now.
yes,
we've been.
Oh, yeah.
governmental,
see that
yeah,
now.
on
No,
and on.
it's
Your
happening.
economic systems. And what we also see is, yes, that feminine power is being activated again. And we're going to say again, because there was a
Yeah,
period of time on this world where the matriarchy was in power, and they did just as bad of a job as the patriarchal did because of the extreme polarization. So what we see happening now is a balance of the yin and yang energy. This is why you have so many beings coming in who don't identify with particular gender, because they operate as whole beings, whole versions of themselves.
Who are tiptoeing in a little bit at a time to shake everything up. First, it was the gays for
Yes.
a long time, and da-da-da-da-da. Now it's more advanced.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Yes, and we'll
fascinating.
say this as well. Whatever you identify with as your sexuality is also completely made up. You all understand that. You are universal beings of light and love. You're not male, you're not female, you're not gay, you're not straight. You are souls incarnate, love incarnate, and you love other beings. And a lot of you are going to find as time moves on, you're really going to drop sexual identity and just show up. And you'll have a world that looks, the best word we can use is bisexual. But that's not really the truth of what you are, because you're just beings that love other beings. Your whole sexual operating systems are shifting as well. You're moving out of needing physical interaction to experience that energetic connection. You'll run it energetically, and then you can still choose for the physical experience if you want to have it.
Like Steve Gutenberg in Cocoon.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's an amazing piece there for all of you in your pop culture to help
Yeah.
you understand a 5th dimensional sexual experience.
As we-
Yes.
Progress from
Can you explain that?
bisexual to
Because-
all sexual.
Because a lot of people may not even know what cocoon is.
Then you should not be watching the show.
We're just dating ourselves
I'm
here,
saying,
right?
I date myself every weekend. I am all sexual. It's a movie Cocoon, and Steve Gutenberg is the hottie patati in the movie, and Ron Howard directed it,
Yes.
of course. And long story short, he meets a beautiful young woman who is, I don't know what part of the star system she's actually from in the movie, but basically he's wanting to make love to her so badly. And so she finally gives him the opportunity to. She goes to the swimming pool with him, which is private, unzips her human skin. Her light body comes out of it, and she moves all around the atrium of the swimming pool. And then she hits him right in the heart chakra, and it's the best energetic multiple orgasmic combustion point a human has ever had in film history.
Yes.
And that's what you're talking about getting to. Oh, I just feel like I need a towel.
And that's actually what we're going through. And what I'm finding in my one-on-one work with people is there are a lot of people just not having sex any longer because they're finding the third dimensional mechanism isn't working for them.
You just helped me understand something.
I'm glad.
My really good friends will always keep saying to me, don't you get lonely? Don't you want to date? Why aren't you pining away? Why aren't you mad or upset that you're not going out and dating and having intimacy with people? I love my life. I love my work. I love this.
Yep.
This is the kind of thing that feeds me from the inside out. It satiates me to the core of my being. Now, once in a while, I want to touch somebody's butt, but most of the time,
I
it's
keep telling him
this.
no.
Well, we'll say, as you deactivate your third dimensional sexual operating system, and that's what's happening, and that's tied into procreation, all right, which is also why in large part the gay community on your world was persecuted for that reason.
I was going to ask.
Because the enslavers don't want you to remember that you are creator beings. It's not sexual energy you've been running, it's creator energy. It's what you access during sex. So now you're deactivating these third dimensional sexual operating systems. A lot of you are sitting in this kind of void space, and some of you have been there for a while, years. It's all right. Because you're creating, you're activating, you're getting in touch with a fifth dimensional creator operating system.
And how powerful does that make us? Because there's, almost 8 billion people in the world. How powerful does that make us as an individual that can affect every single person on this planet?
So it makes you an instantaneous manifester when you're fully activated. Kaliandra here, that's where we sit in our energy, instantaneous manifestation. However, we don't always hold physical form. So we shift in and out. We can be physical. We don't have to be physical, right? So for all of you, it would mean instantaneous manifestation. For you with another, there would still have to be agreement. For you with a collective, there needs to be a collective agreement. This is the Pleiadians, but you're asking something else, Tony, and this is something most of you on your world don't understand. Your internal work, it is the greatest gift any of you will bring to this world. As soon as one of you lights up, you share that information telepathically with everyone around you. And they take it in. Now, it's up to them whether or not to use it. But we want you all to see that because we know so many of you feel like, I'm here to do something important and I don't know what it is and I'm so frustrated by that. Just being here, you have fulfilled your contract. Becoming conscious is icing on the cake. Working at a more conscious level is you're beyond the cake, right?
And then you get to share the cake with others who are interested in having cake.
Yes. I love cake. Me too. Although I don't eat it right now. I'm on a total health thing. No sugar, no refined sugar. It sucks.
I know, because that's my addiction. Sugar's my addiction.
Hey, Nora?
And work.
Sorry.
We're having fun.
We're talking about cake.
Oh, Mr. Serious over here.
We're talking about cake over here. Come on.
Black Forest cake. Can I ask or no?
Yeah, go for it.
You want to get close to the mic?
Oh, sorry. I think Tony's question is deep. It's a deep question. It's an intense. I mean, when we started talking about unconscious, subconscious, and conscious.
Yeah.
So I think there's a layer of in there. I don't know if it's one of those three or if it's something beyond that. Can you talk about that? Yes. That realm.
There are two things. Yes. Push, we got it. There are two things. There are two things. One, you cannot individually raise your vibration so high that you can no longer interact with the collective or exist on planet Earth, meaning a lot of beings who do that choose to opt out of the game, meaning they die.
Oh, okay.
So you've seen that with some of your celebrities, actually, who just have raised their personal vibration to a point where they cannot stay on planet Earth any longer. So that could be, as you're talking about affecting the collective, one thing to look at. You don't want to push it, right? Because you're just pushing yourself there. The other piece is, well, there are a number of things we can talk about. Judgment, right? You got to get out of judgment to really do this work. And very often when you think about shifting the collective, you think you want to do it because, you know, where you're at is bad as a collective species. So let's get us to the better place. That's what happened on Atlantis, all right? Atlantis was an exercise in trying to fast forward the integration and reascension process. And there were different parties all in disagreement on the best way to do that as well. And ultimately you had the final split of the male and female energy, or yin and yang energy, which split the continent down the middle and sank that continent. What you're experiencing now on your world are memories of that trauma surfacing, along with the fall of Lemuria, the destruction of the first Earth, and the destruction of the living library. That's all being activated right now, in large part in your political and governmental experiences.
Thank goodness.
Yes, that's right. It all serves
Yeah,
for healing.
we need it.
And the most important piece ultimately is compassion. So you can be in disagreement with how the person over there is living their life,
Right.
but hold compassion in your heart for that being of love, because that's who they are and they are you.
Is that why Star Wars, the movie, the franchise, has such an appeal to?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a retelling of some of your galactic history. It's a retelling of the Orion Wars, which we really didn't talk about much today, but the Orion...
Oh, you'll be back.
Please.
we'll be happy to be back. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like when I remember being a little kid and watching Star Trek, which I was never a Star Trek fan because it was a reality that I really already knew. But I loved it when they would dematerialize from the ship
right.
and be on the next planet and vice versa. It was like, yeah, that's how we used to do it.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch humans recognize that inside themselves, but not consciously recognize it.
Yes.
It's fascinating to watch. So when you ask the question about Star Wars, that's why I love it. I also love the fact that right now, which makes so much sense, that the entertainment industry is bringing in more elements of non-physical, the non-physical world, the paranormal. Some of it's always going to be over sensationalized, but a lot of it's going like this. And we're waking people up one show at a time.
Yes. Yes.
So we have about 4 minutes left. What is it that any of the beings of light that you choose, Nora, would like to come through and leave Tony's audience with?
This is Yeshua. We greet you with love and joy and honor your light. Whatever it is you want, whatever it is you desire, it's in you. It's already in you. And if you seek to find outside of you that which you cannot find from within, you will keep yourself in conflict, in struggle, in dissatisfaction, in disconnection, in emptiness. Go in. Find it within. If it's love you want, love yourself more. If it's prosperity you want, be more prosperous with yourself and others. Be more generous with others. If it's connection you want, connect more. Connect with those outside of you. Connect with yourself. This is the Pleiadians. And there's one other piece that we see is so important right now. We ask you all to take more personal responsibility for your creations, for your lives. And as you do this, release your shame.
Oh,
Release your judgment.
big one.
Yes, because you can't do them. You can't do that. You can't own your reality if you are beating up on yourself for what you've created. You've got to say, I am perfect exactly as I am, sitting in this pile of poop that I made. Right.
I love it. I love it. And that's a good way to end.
And how can people reach out to you and find you?
Yeah. So my website is noraherold.com. I'm also on Facebook. Feel free to send me a friend request. I do a lot of work on Facebook. And John and I have a page together, Nora Herold and Jonathan Wilkes Spiritual Channeling. I do private sessions. I've got tons of videos and audio recordings, a lot for free, some as products. Go to town on my site. Enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I
thank
think
you.
hopefully next time maybe we can take some calls, because I know maybe
Yeah.
people thought they were going to call in, and we would love to have you back to maybe take some of those calls.
Yeah.
But it's been a joy to have you here. And Nora, thank you so much. This has been so fun, and I've learned a lot.
I know, right?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Thank you.
So if you guys want to listen to this again, maybe you've missed something. I know there's something that you've heard on this show and you said, I need to know more, but I want to hear that again. Listen to this podcast on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher. And this video is also going to be up on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. We just had over 300,000 views. Thank you so much for doing that for us. Almost 5,000 subscribers. We appreciate every single one of you, and it's people like you that let us know about Nora's and Mark and Tyler and all the people that we've had on today's show. So we want to make sure you know that we appreciate you. And this is Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie. I'm Tony Sweet.
I'm Eddie Connor.
I'm Nora Herold.
I'm John Wilk.
John Williams.
And we are going to say goodbye for this week, but go to truthbetoldwebtv.com. Check out next week's show, another great show for you. So we're out, and we'll see you next time right here on Universal Broadcasting.
Bye, y'all.